You're watching a graduation. This might be a kindergarten graduation, and it seems that the tradition at this event is that when the children get their little diplomas, they walk up to the microphone and tell the audience what they want to be when they grow up. This little girl walked up to the mic and said this. You can tell by the person who was filming, who I guess was her mom, that she was embarrassed because as soon as she said what she said, she just pulls the camera down and it goes straight to black. Now let's take it back. This adorable little girl, did she say something wrong? Was what she said so offensive that it embarrassed the mom and outraged the audience? A couple weeks ago, Harrison Butker gave this commencement speech at a Catholic university, and I was going to make a video about it, but different breaking news about things started happening with JLo and then P. Diddy. But when I listened to what he was saying, and he was describing one of the greatest roles a woman can play is be a mom, a wife, a homemaker.
I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother, and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. But it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker. I say all of this to you because I have seen it firsthand, how much happier someone can be when they disregard the outside noise and move closer and closer to God's will in their life. Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true, but if you asked her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud without hesitation and say, heck no.
We see that what this little girl said and what Harrison Butker said, they correlate. For people like Harrison, every woman should have that dream that the most wonderful thing that she can be is a mom, ideally a wife first. But this is a man who said in his speech that women get told the most demonic lies by society. And I believe he didn't really expand too much, but I believe what he meant was that as a woman, you can have it all. You can have choices. You don't have to be a mom and a wife. You can have a career. You can be a homeowner. You can travel the world and explore other alternatives to the traditional role of being a wife, mother, and homemaker. The reason why I believe that people felt embarrassed by what that little adorable little girl said is the fact that it sounded quaint. It sounded kind of, really? That's it? That's all you want to be? You don't want to be a doctor? You don't want to be a teacher, a pilot, a lawyer? You want to be pregnant? That's your life's goal, your ambition? And I believe that that is also the wrong attitude. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that little girl wanting to grow up to be a mommy one day. I think that's a noble aspiration. Both attitudes, Harrison's attitude and the public who was shocked, they are both wrong because they are both extremes. Because they both say to a little girl who has a dream, are you sure? This should be your dream. Your dream should be something else. And the whole point of having choices in life is having the freedom to choose which one of those choices you can have. Harrison talked about how his wife's life only began when she became a homemaker, when she became a wife and a mother. That is how her life began. That whatever dreams she may have had for a professional life, they all went out the window because the greatest dream that she could have is to be a homemaker. He also talked about the fact that his life was greatly blessed by the fact that she chose to become his wife and the mother to his children because it gave him the freedom to pursue his dream and to have his dream career, which is, let me check my notes, catch and throw balls for a living. See, Harrison Butker believes that a man's dreams can be whatever he wants. They can be as absurd, they can be as outlandish and as big or as small as they want those dreams to be, because he's a man. And men are supposed to dream big or small depending on what he wants to do. But a woman's one of her greatest callings. And I have to be fair, because when I first heard snippets from the speech, it sounded as if he was saying that women should only be homemakers. But he was saying, he kind of dressed it up. He said one of the greatest roles a woman can play is to be a homemaker. And that is true. But the theme of his speech, if you listen to the whole 20 minutes of it, was knowing what your lane is and staying in that lane. And it was very clear that with his heteronormative speech, and he has some very extreme views. He obviously doesn't believe in abortion, but he also has a problem with birth control, even natural birth control. He was criticizing, he calls it Catholic birth control. It's very clear that this man believes that women are birthing machines and they should have as many children as possible because it is God's will. See, a man's life is not really going to be slowed down or affected by having a bunch of children. I mean, his career as a, what do you call his profession? I'm going to put it out here. I don't even care. It's not going to be affected no matter how many children his wife has. But her life is going to be completely changed. I mean, every time she gets pregnant and gives birth, she literally will be taking on the most dangerous biological process of a mammal, which is gestation and giving birth. Her body's going to change. Her internal organs are going to be displaced each time. She's going to risk bleeding out while giving birth. She also risks postpartum depression that can turn into psychosis that can last for the rest of her life. As the main caregiver of those children, the way she spends her days is going to be greatly affected by the number of children she has. Harrison doesn't give thought to any of this when lauding his wife for her life choices. Because again, her being the one who stays at home with the children, making sure that she teaches them, he even mentions that she is homeschooling them, being the one who's in charge of the children's sustenance and safety while he's away, either at practice or games that are out of state. It allows him to really relax into his role as husband and father and football player. This reminds me of a video I saw of a woman responding to Casey Neistat, who's a huge YouTuber. She was responding to an interview he gave when he was talking about how to get to where he is in life. He had to make really tough decisions. He was a young father. I believe he and his then girlfriend became teenage parents, and they were broke, and he decided that he was going to leave where they were living and travel to New York and start his YouTuber career making videos. He didn't have money to stay at hotels or even get an apartment, so he was sleeping in friends' couches and doing all these things. And as he was giving this interview and talking about how he had to really take the long road and it was tough, but that's what you have to do to make sure that your dreams come true, the woman who was commenting on the interview said,
and the whole time I'm listening thinking, where's your kid? None of these things are possible with a 2-year-old baby. You can't sleep on somebody else's couch with your 2-year-old baby. You can't stay out till 4 a.m. with your 2-year-old baby. You can't live in a halfway house like that with a 2-year-old baby because he claims he bribed his way into it. Like, you don't do that with a 2-year-old. And he's talking about how he doesn't have money for a taxi or anything like that. And the whole time I'm thinking, where's this kid? This kid is probably with his mom. This kid is with his mom probably 90% of the time. She's probably doing 90% of the work, paying for 90% of the things, and raising him essentially on her own. If it were a mother telling that story, you would know what she did for childcare, how she paid for everything for that child, where they lived, who supported her, what was her village like. Like, you'd know those things because those things were critical to her success if she had success. But for him, it wasn't critical because he had her. Men have women. That is the biggest lesson I've learned. When they tell us any kind of advice about how they became successful, it's because they had women supporting them. The problem is, if that woman, if she, his baby mama, wanted to do the same thing that Casey did, would that have been possible? Could she have left her kid with him for 90% of the time and participated slightly and maybe monetarily, but mostly was off sleeping on couches in New York City? Could she have done that? Probably not. And if she had, she would have been frowned upon for doing so. And that's the difference. He is held up on this pedestal for doing this work and for becoming successful and doing it the hard way. But if she were to do the same thing, she would be called a bad mother who put her career before her kid. And that is why I don't take advice from men, even successful men, because their advice is not applicable to women.
Men are able to live their dreams because they have women to absorb the shock, to take one for the team, to do the difficult thing so that they can chase their dreams. And so in a world where a man who wants to be a husband and a father can effectively chase his dreams, there needs to be a rule that says that the only dream a woman can chase is that of being a wife, a mother, and a homemaker. Do I need to say it? Should I say it? Yeah, I have to say it. That is not fair. That's not fair. Because women are people too. Women have dreams, they have goals. They want to do crazy things like chasing footballs or flying airplanes or running Fortune 500 companies. And if the only way that a man can chase his dreams while also having his white picket fantasy of being a husband and a father is for women to give up their dreams, that's a lopsided society. It works perfectly for men, but it doesn't work for women. I don't care how loudly men shout it from the rooftops that the only way a woman can be happy, that the only way a woman can really feel alive is by becoming what he needs so that his dreams, no matter how crazy, can come true in peace. I've said it from the beginning. I do a lot of videos on gender traditional roles and how I think they are not the best and how they are harmful to women. And there's two videos in particular that I made, was it last year or a couple of years ago, that I think you should check out. They haven't gotten a lot of love, but I invite you to go check them out. I'm going to leave them below, where I talk about this idea that gender roles aren't even traditional. They don't come from old ancient traditions, that they're kind of a modern invention that was put in place to ensure the continuity of this bootleg patriarchy that we have nowadays. Just check out the videos. I think they're really good. But I know that I talk very strongly against traditional gender roles. It makes me sound as if I am completely against marriage. I think, and I'll say it again because I've said it before, I believe marriage is a wonderful thing when it works for both the husband, the wife, and also the children. I don't think that there is one definition of how marriage should work because there isn't one kind of people out there in the world. People are different. Men are different from women, and women are different from other women. So are men different from other men. And those differences should be respected and honored. And before I end this video, I want to leave you with this video that I saw months ago and I intended to make a video about, but again, life got in the way. But this is what happens when what you hoped for doesn't always happen the way you had hoped for. And when women put all their eggs in one basket, and that basket is labeled, I am going to attach myself to a man who will provide for me and my children in perpetuity. That is not the case all the time. It doesn't always happen that way. So having a plan B of being somebody who provides for your own self, having a nest egg of your own, that shouldn't even be plan B. That should be plan A. We should always be thinking of ways how we can provide for ourselves so that we don't fully depend on somebody who might one day decide to remove those resources that at the beginning that were freely given to us. Watch this.
If you are a young 14, 16, 21-year-old girl, listen up. I drove to the grocery store. I need to grab some milk and bread and a couple things, flipped open the bank app on my phone, and I've been sitting in my car crying ever since because I never have enough money. And why do I never have enough money? Because when I was a 19-year-old girl, I fell in love. My Mormon faith told me that I was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. I got married. I started having babies. I dropped out of college. I never had a career. My only jobs that I ever had in life were a waitress at the Olive Garden and managing a pretzel maker in a mall. I didn't even have a bank account. I should have said that in the beginning. I never had a bank account. He would give me little envelopes of cash to go grocery shopping with, and I got a free house to live in. And I got groceries. So I found myself divorced at age 44 just 5 years ago, and within just a few months I was living in my car while he made about $250,000. He would eventually quit that job so that he wouldn't have to pay alimony and child support. He has only paid alimony one time ever in the 5 years since we've been divorced. Once ever. Right after my divorce, I remember being really confident about my ability to get a job, so I put together a resume. I remember one of the first interviews that I had, this management position, and the man actually laughing as he was interviewing me, like he was really sympathetic. He wasn't being a douchebag, but he was laughing. And he's like, so let me get this straight. You helped manage your family windshield business with your husband, but you were mostly a stay-at-home mom. But it became really apparent that I needed so many more skills to have any type of management job. I couldn't even work the basic computers. He told me in the interview, please don't apply for any more jobs like this. You are not qualified at all. You're not capable of doing this unless you go back to school and get your degree or get some different experience. And so I ended up, my first job after my divorce was $11 an hour, 4 hours a day, working as an assistant to a school teacher in an elementary school. I made $44 a day. For 24 years, I lived in $1 million homes. I vacationed all over the world. I spent my summers in Hawaii. I could buy myself $500 jeans, diamond tennis bracelets. We had boats and RVs and whatever I wanted. And it never bothered me once that my financial security was dependent on that man being in love with me. I never realized that him liking me or not liking me or finding me sexy or attractive or interesting determined whether or not my children could eat.
I don't think all marriages are going to end in divorce. I don't think that all marriages are going to be bad. But if there is a 50% chance that your marriage would not work, is it wise for you to throw caution to the wind and say, I don't need to have a job. I don't need to have a preparation of my own. I don't need to have a side hustle or a business or an education. My husband will take care of me. Is it wise? If there was a 50% chance that leaving your car unlocked would result in you being a burglary victim, would you leave your car unlocked? I don't think there's even a 10% chance that that would happen to you in most places. But we always lock our cars. Because even with the slightest of chances, it's better to be prepared. I want every young woman watching this video to understand that it is absolutely imperative for you to be prepared to provide for yourself. There are no guarantees in this life, but you can guarantee what you do to ensure that you have all the resources you're going to need to survive in this world. I hope that if you do choose to get married, that your marriage lasts forever, that it is a wonderful, amazing partnership with the person that you want to be with. But if it doesn't work out that way, I want you to be prepared. Have your own career. If you can, start a business. Have a nest egg. Have some money for retirement. When you do get married, get a prenup to ensure that any assets that are acquired after you get married, you can share equally, and any assets that you had before you got married get to stay in your possession as your own. That doesn't mean that you don't believe in love, that you don't believe in marriage. You can believe in all these beautiful things. just understand that human nature is unpredictable. In fact, life is unpredictable. You could be madly in love and happy in a marriage, and you could lose your husband. Your husband could die or be disabled and no longer be able to provide for you. If you don't have an education, how are you going to provide for your family then? It's just common sense. Just be wise. And to that little girl at the beginning of the video, you go, girl. Just before you get pregnant, ideally get married. Have your own resources so that you can provide for yourself and your little babies. And you're going to be just fine. And congratulations on your graduation. I'm rooting for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about what I spoke about. Please share it with others. That would help me. Please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you join. Watch some of my other videos. And welcome. If this is your first time here, thank you once again so much for watching this video. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.